Hey everyone, it's Anthony Ramos, and the film Monsoon tells the story of a queer man's journey back to Vietnam after leaving as a young child. And I'm very excited today to be talking to the man who stars in it, Henry Golding. How are you?
What's up, Anthony? How are you?
Good. Well, first off, I have to say, so you being half Malaysian and half British, I am half Filipino and half Irish. I
Nice.
can't tell you what it means to me personally to see you on screen every time. I finally feel like I'm seeing myself represented. So thank you very much for that.
Amazing, of course. No, that's awesome that we were able. I'm sure you've been through a lot of the struggles of identity, which I think actually kind of resonate within Kit, the character in Monsoon, of really trying to understand who you are as an individual, and being from sort of two backgrounds. I think we both had those issues in the past.
Yeah, and the film, it's so funny. It's finally coming out here, November 13th. Everyone get ready nationwide. But for you, first up, there is not enough stories with Asian people and Asian characters centered, in the storylines, and definitely not enough, queer Asian stories. So, with playing Kid and taking on this role, why was it such an important story that you wanted to be a part of telling?
I think it was Hong Kao, the director, has this beautiful way of weaving his stories and making them so sentimental to, I think, his personal journey, as well as kind of everybody that he's come across. And I'm not sure if you saw his last film, Lilting. It did really well at Sundance, I think 2014. But originally, I was drawn to the script because of that very similar kind of mindset that Kit has during the beginning of the journey of trying to understand his family history, and feeling kind of, I wouldn't say not welcomed, but out of place in both senses of society back in the UK and in Vietnam, ultimately, when he sort of journeys there. So for me, it was the fact that he went to kind of an alien country as such, expecting to feel as though he would be welcomed and he would like fit in immediately, and had this picture of what to experience, or what to expect. And a lot of the time in life, we aren't faced with that reality. So his journey in discovering not only himself but being at ease in his motherland was something that was beautiful for me.
And it's interesting because, and what I love so much, it's very, yes, he is a gay man, but it's very subtle. It's when what I love, the message that sends is that's just one normal part of him. It's nothing that's super sensationalized. It feels very just, part of who he is, and very normal and accepted. So I love that. What was it like for you to kind of, take on playing, an LGBTQ character? Because I know there's a lot of responsibility there, and I know that you've been, it's important to, to be an ally to the community, as well.
It's a huge responsibility. I think there's a lot of expectation when it comes to queer characters on screen. Should they be played by the LGBTQ community, or is there allowance for a heterosexual male to be able to play this particular role? I think it really, for this particular project, we felt as though that because the story didn't kind of revolve around his sexuality and the importance of his sexuality and the importance of the history of the sexuality, that as an actor, I'm able to open myself to that. And I think it is a subject that you can sort of discuss till you're blue in the face. And I think you kind of touched upon it and that sense of normality? When do we get to a stage where being gay isn't even questioned on screen? Being a straight or an LGBTQ plus like actor, will you always be questioned for your sexuality? So I think we went into the project with beautiful intentions, and I think with Hong sort of helming with such a strong voice within the community, I think we created something beautiful that hopefully that everybody can kind of appreciate.
100%. And I think, beyond the, him being, a gay man or, being queer, I think the film also really opens up a lot of conversations about Vietnam and kind of the relations between the US and the feelings, given the history and everything. What was it like for you to kind of, go back into that? Obviously, you are not Vietnamese, but to kind of learn that history again, to kind of, explore it through telling this story.
It was written beautifully. I always feel as though there are kind of three running themes within the characters that Kit meets. There's the past, which is his cousin, whom he left as a child and had to kind of deal with what was happening during that period of time. You have the present, which is Lewis, who becomes his kind of lover and confidant. And he is making amends for his father's kind of atrocities within the American war. And then the future, which is the new generation of Vietnamese, which is Lynn, the young lady that we kind of follow to the beautiful lotus peaking sort of scene. And she's the next generation of Vietnamese who do not want to be defined by the atrocities of her forefathers or defined by history. And they want to carve out their own kind of identity. And so within all of these three windows into life, Kit realizes that the Vietnam that he had in his head is very different, or the Vietnam that his parents reluctantly spoke about to him wasn't the Vietnam that he's experiencing. So through those different kind of windows, you see a very different Vietnam. And for myself, I've traveled. I've been living in Southeast Asia for the past 10 years, and so I've been in Vietnam 5-6 times. But really, the reading led me to the experiences of the boat people who actually had to travel over the seas in search of a home that wasn't trying to sort of kill them, I suppose.
Absolutely. And, I was just thinking, one of the other things that I talk about not seeing enough Asian leading roles and storylines. It's also so amazing that we have Kit, who, is an Asian man, and then the love interest is, a Black man. And I just think, it's so incredible to see, these storylines with, so much inclusion and so much diversity. For you as an actor, like how, I guess great does it feel to be a part of, showing more and better diversity, with this character and this storyline?
The amount of messages that I've received about seeing that type of kind of relationship and representation on screen has been mind-blowing. I mean, people really are hungry for reality. It's a weird concept, isn't it? It's like when you see normality and reality on television or on the big screen, it's like, it's weird to us. We don't expect it. But you go out into the middle of New York or London, Barcelona, and you see that on a day-to-day basis. Like, why can't it be normal? Or why is it that it scratches an itch that we've been yearning for? It's such a weird thing, but I think for me, I don't know, because I think I've grown up in a very international kind of world, and I've had the fortune of traveling as a child, so my mind has that kind of openness. And for me, it was at the time of filming and at the time we were doing it, it wasn't even a question. It wasn't even a thought in my head. It was like, right, I have this beautiful script. Let's do the words justice and make people kind of be proud of this project.
So, and I'm glad we are, that's what we work for. Representation is so key. And like when people see themselves, reflected, I mean, I know I talked about it earlier, but like when I saw Crazy Rich Asians, I didn't necessarily even expect to feel that. I knew it was going to be a fun, entertaining film. And then I was like, at the theater, and I was like, wow, I was like, I have never seen someone that kind of almost looks very similar to me, that is like the leading man who's in a big budget film. I mean, it's those moments are so special. So,
but it's crazy that they kind of creep up on you.
Yeah.
It's at the back of your mind, and to shine a light into that kind of area is wonderful. It's so refreshing.
Yeah. And, speaking of that, I think we're all in this pandemic. And I think the next film of Crazy Rich Asians is kind of moving forward in some capacity. Is there anything that you can tell us, a little tidbit about that and what's going to happen? Not what's going to happen, but how you're moving to make it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I speak a lot with John Chu, our director. Me and him are very, very good friends. And he, I think, has cracked the direction of how to interpret the next two books.
Right.
And so it's a very long process in that sense, because, turning book to script can be a very big challenge. And a lot of the time it doesn't make sense. So you need to create sort of a pathway in which viewers and audience members can be like this is all right, this is a huge movie, and there's a lot of pressure. The first one did pretty well, and
really well,
and
yeah.
and then the first one, we didn't have any expectations, and so for some people it kind of came out of nowhere. They were like, I didn't expect that film to be so good, or I didn't expect that film to make me feel the way that I felt. And so the expectation is going to be high for the second. We just want to get it right. I think the people deserve it.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, Nico Santos, your co-star, and that is a good friend of all of ours. Like, I want to see more of his storyline. We got to get, maybe a love interest or something.
The rainbow sheep of the family. He's the best.
I love that.
And Nico for himself had an amazing journey in Asia. I think, if I may be wrong, you might be able to ask him, but I think he went to the Philippines for the first time in a long time, perhaps. And he felt a real connection with what we were making. And for Asian Americans who haven't had the opportunity to come back to Asia, to their so-called sort of motherland, and experience kind of Asia the way it really is a wonderful kind of adventure. And I think it definitely opens your mind to, who you are and your identity a little bit.
Absolutely. I will definitely catch up with him on that. One last question before I let you go. I think you've talked about it before, but back earlier in your career, where you were a hairdresser at one point in your career, right?
Yes, I was.
Tell me what that was like, because I would imagine perhaps, you were exposed and maybe had some LGBTQ friends in that space or anything. Tell me what that was like.
It will be my first and biggest passion in life. And going in, I started hairdressing when I was working in a barbershop when I was like 14 years old, like sweeping up hair on a Saturday, just as a job. But then the real passion started as soon as I finished my kind of GCSEs. I was about 16, 17, and went into an apprenticeship in a salon. But it wasn't until I moved up to London, in Sloane Square, kind of Chelsea area. I worked at a salon called Richard Ward Hair Metro Spa. And my greatest mentor there was this small Sardinian Italian, super cheeky, amazingly bubbly gay man by the name of Cristiano Bashu. And he taught me the world. He had such this huge open kind of knowledge. And as a kid who grew up in sort of in Surrey in the UK, to be surrounded by these strong, independent, proud, gay, lesbian, black, white. We had sort of Brazilians in there. It was such an international environment that you can't help but have your blinkers kind of opened. And so for the years that I was there, my greatest mentors were from the communities, and so it almost became. I think that's why some people, I get it's weird for me when people are like, oh, how do you feel about playing a gay character? For me, it doesn't. The concept isn't as kind of vertical as a lot of people would imagine, and I think that's due to every individual's experience. If I was like grew up with no kind of exposure to the culture or to people of the environment, then I think it would be weird. But for me, it feels as though, well, yeah, they're like normal people. They're everyday people. They have loved ones. They have lives. They have goals. They have dreams. And so I think it instilled a really sort of strong place in my heart that it really doesn't matter who you are, who you love, and just, I don't know, be good to people. That's really what it's down to, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I'm so happy that you decided to be a part of making this film. And we're obviously so grateful for, Strand Releasing, who continues to bring, these important stories to the masses. So Henry, thank you so much for the time, and reminder everyone, Monsoon will be out nationwide November 13th. I'm so excited you all finally will get to see it. It's a beautiful story. It's an important story. So be sure and check it out. Henry, thanks again. Very nice.
Thanks, Anthony. Bye.